You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
All right, Robert, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, Mike.
So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself.
That's something interesting. Well, I'm aerodynamic, have been for about 10 years.
Yeah, if you're watching, you'll see what he's talking about. All right.
And, I have one of the most blessed lives I can think of. 6 months out of the year, I travel around the world getting to teach thousands and thousands of people at a time. This year alone, 2019, I did 19 multi-day trainings in 9 different countries.
Wow.
And so for 6 months a year, I do a lot of traveling. The other 6 months a year, I get to be at home with family, because family and balance in life is so important. So I have a very blessed life that way.
Well, you're scratching me where I itch here, given the name of the podcast, Business and Life, and how that comes together. So thank you for putting those two together. Maybe it was just worked out. But tell me, 6 months. I kind of play around with 6 months too, actually, with Puerto Rico and when I'm back and forth. Are you consecutively doing 6 months? Because I can find that being pretty tough. And I've only done the first 6 here so far in Puerto Rico, but I do got to go back and forth to California and stateside all the time. Do you do it 6 months straight, or is it kind of hit or miss here?
No, I will. So as an example, I finished my last event a couple of weeks ago. So mid-November. I don't do my first event until mid-January. So I'm taking 2 months off for holidays and family. But then in January, I'll be in Florida for a week. Then from Florida, I go to Vienna, I go to Amsterdam, and then I come home for a couple weeks before I'm in India. Then I'm home for a couple weeks. And so I'll do some runs, but then I like to take a month to 2 months in a nice little punch of downtime. So I spread it out throughout the year.
Yeah, no, you got to do it. I mean, it's nice. Being able to be on the road and being healthy enough to go back and forth, it takes a lot out of you, but being able to be back home in your own bed with the family is definitely where you kind of come back and realize what you're doing it all for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about what is that you do? What does your company do? What do you do as far as how does it bring value to the marketplace?
Well, so my main thing is I contract out and I teach some very specific trainings around mindset, 16 different programs. And so those are what I do when I'm training around the world. But I also do one-on-one coaching, one-on-one mentoring, because one of my passions is I love to help people really enhance who they are on a stage. So I'll sit at the back of an audience and I'll watch someone on the stage and I'll be able to say, stop, pause, look this way, turn your head this way, don't lock your head and your shoulders together. And so I love to enhance people and who especially want to take their training business to 7 or 8 figures a year, because I believe that the world needs teachers, and you can learn the skill, but enhancing who you are to be able to more effectively deliver. That's what I really love to do with people, is take them to a whole new level that way.
Let's see, how many people have you trained to do so?
Well, for trainers, wow.
Yeah, a lot, I bet.
Thousands.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Because I'm a speaker. I do a few speaking engagements here and there. It's not the main thing, but it's something that I really enjoy, and maybe one day it will be, right? I think that it could evolve, and I really do enjoy it. So I'm interested. Do you feel that when you are teaching the speakers, if you will, how is it tough for them to truly be in their own mind while they're up there engaging with the audience, also giving their message, which is the most important part, we hope. It's to also be able to remember how to pivot and how to turn left and right and how has that kind of tough to teach?
It all depends on the person, Mike.
Oh, really?
And this is the thing is number one gift I believe a person can give this world is to be authentic, be themselves.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, they're very much in their heads when they start. So this is where preparation, practice, because when you're in front of an audience, the most key important thing for me is that you're connected to them. You're having a conversation with them. In other words, you're talking to that audience, not at that audience, if that makes sense. And if you're in your head, you've got to disconnect. And look, especially when you begin, you're going to be rough. So it's giving yourself the permission that that's okay. That, I may make mistakes. perfect. You know, one of my favorite quotes in T. Harv Eker's book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, is every master was once a disaster. And so that's the key, is you've got to be ready to go through that disaster stage. Prepare, prepare, prepare. So that then you can get to the ideal where, look, I'm being me, I'm on the stage, I'm ready to rock and roll. Awesome.
No, that's great. I think that connecting to the audience, and it goes so much further as well from just example. Like I have a sticky note here that says engage, like be present when I'm doing these podcasts, because it's important, right? For me to be able to make sure to understand who I'm talking to, what it's about. Cause I like to interview people that I'm truly interested in. And more importantly, a lot of my personal avatar and who I interview is who can I learn from? Like, and I love that part, right? Because that's a really good, that's something of a learning process that never goes away. And it's humbling to know that there's a lot to continuously learn. But how long have you been in business, Robert?
Well, now you want me to put an age to myself? Like,
no, you give me, I'll just say, throw out a net number and we won't put the age on it though.
Yeah, well, you know, as a trainer and doing what I do now, I've been doing this for 17 years. But, awesome. You know, since I was 19, I've been an entrepreneur. And, you know, I even owned a couple Domino's Pizzas for 9 years as a franchisee.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've gone through a bunch of different businesses and transitions.
That's a good franchise. Give me a time. So you've done 17 years. You've had franchise and entrepreneurship list experiences. Give me a time where you felt you hit rock bottom, Robert, and you were kind of close to, you know, overcoming a disaster there. How did you do that? And what was that disaster and that challenge?
You know, there's so many, and this is another thing. So many people think they have failures in life, and I'm a big believer that there's no failure. There's only feedback. You know, and I actually commit, and you hit on it with talking about continuously learning. One of the things I'm committed to is failing faster, because that's where some of the greatest lessons come from. And in my Domino's Pizza, that was a huge turning point. My wife and I, we became franchisees at the age of 23, which at the time was the average age of a Domino's Pizza franchisee. And they love to really put that number out there. But what the number that they did not like to tell people is that the average franchisee went bankrupt 6 months later.
Wow.
And the reason is because when you're a manager, you couldn't just buy a franchise. You had to successfully manage a store for at least a year before you could then be qualified and to become a franchisee. And so when you're managing for someone, you're following the rules, following the system. But what would happen with a lot of franchisees, the moment they became the boss, I'll do it my way. I'll do it the way I want to. And they quit using the system, and all of a sudden they go bankrupt. And so my wife and I, we were franchisees for 9 years. And although we started making some pretty good money, we didn't know how to spend our money. And by the time we were franchisees for 8 years, we were over $150,000 in debt, owning 2 stores, but going down very, very quickly. And that's when we learned we had to work with us, who we are as a person. And that's when we actually entered the personal development arena. And that turned our life away. And I'll tell you, one pivotal moment, we went from being $150,000 in debt, changed our mindset. 6 months later, we retired completely financially free at the age of 32.
Wow. What do you think, you know, let me go back to that. I think that you hit on something here. A lot of our listeners might be franchisees. They might be entrepreneurs and going the franchisee route, which I think is awesome, by the way. Most of the companies out there, if you've ever read things like the E-Myth or other books that are very much more focused on, you got to be franchising your company, whether it's a franchise or not, meaning process and procedures and all that kind of jazz, 100%. And if you don't stick to the script, you know, then you might go bankrupt in 6 months. I mean, that's a crazy statistic. And of course, you're not going to promote that. It's not that attractive. But I would assume that a franchisee jumping right into the franchisee, if you're listening to this, and you're thinking about doing a franchise, I would say probably stick to it because that's what it's there for. And that's what you're paying for, is the model, right? But I bet an entrepreneur that is an entrepreneur successfully within a different kind of business, his mindset already knows going into a franchise would likely be more successful, probably after starting something here and there, because I think once you buy something and you haven't ran a business or managed people, that could be challenging out of the gate. But what is some of your advice for those people out there right now, that entrepreneurs that might come through some of these trials and tribulations that you have? Or let me more of advice, but why do you think a lot of them just decide to give up, Robert?
A couple things. One is they forget to follow the systems. And this is why I loved franchises, is because if you follow the system, it worked. And, near the end of our career, my wife and I actually traveled around Canada and US, where we'd go into stores, Domino's Pizzas, that were about to go bankrupt or were bankrupt, and we'd turn them around very quickly. Within 3 months, we'd walk out the store, profits and sales were going up by over 100%.
Wow.
And people go, how did you do that? And we'd say, we went in, cut out all the crap that was not Tom Monahan's system,
right?
And we put the store back to system. So that's one key, follow systems.
Yep.
Second key is find something you love. See, most people, Mike, unfortunately, they look for the money. What's going to make me the most money? What will make me money the quickest? And so anytime it gets a little tough, because as you know, business is tough. Business is hard. So the moment they go for something just for the money and it gets a little tough, they quit. That's when they quit. So find something that you truly love and you're passionate about so that when times get tough, because they will, you keep going. You can get through those hurdles. And look, I'm training right now. I love training. This is my passion. And I learned that I have to do this for the rest of my life. But does that mean it's always easy? No.
Right.
Hey, it's 6:30 in the morning here. And I was up late last night. But you know what? I love doing what I do. To get up and do this is not a problem because of the fact it's what I love.
That's right. Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith with me. Go to michaelolivas.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's michaelolivas.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help. No, absolutely. I think you hit something really big there, and I want to recap that. Is that you mentioned before, failing fast, 100%. As the entrepreneurs out there listening and those that are aspiring entrepreneurs, find a way to fail fast. And sometimes that is A/B testing marketing. That is finding a way to find out what works faster. And that's really what that's defined as. What is working faster and what is not working faster? How do you do that? Sometimes you got to put some money behind it. Sometimes you don't. Whether it's marketing, you might be just posting in different people of where they might be hanging out on Facebook groups or whatever and finding out what works. And then you replicate it. And then you make it better and better. And that's a process now that you put in your SOPs and your systems. And so another thing was, find something you're passionate about that Robert mentioned. And that's true. I mean, we talk about that a lot in passion and there's some data out there where, like, if you find something you're really passionate about, and then you turn it into a living, then it turns into a job. Are you passionate about it anymore? And the answer is yes, because you're going to start evolving and you're starting becoming passionate about different parts of that business. Like you maybe have focused on, I really like the speaking area versus the mindset, as much as I kind of perfected that. And my mind, I kind of broke that down to understanding all of that. And now it's evolved into something different, I believe. And that happens on a regular basis. So all those listeners listening to ours, how do I build something? It's not going to, business is not a straight line ever. Okay. So I do coaching and advising all the time. And it's like, guys, we can talk about one thing. One of my clients have been talking about one thing, 1 second. And then it's just, we're talking about employee engagement. Then we're talking about, employee contracts. And then we're talking about goal settings and reverse engineering sales. And so it's not a straight line, guys. Understand that there is a road and there's a path, and success leaves clues. And I think that's important, and also kind of sticks to what your website's about. So tell me a little bit about your business, Robert. What are you excited about right now within your company?
Well, 2 years ago, I released my first book called Success Left a Clue. And so it's now sold around the world, international best-selling author in a number of different countries. Wow. And I'm now working on my newest book called The Authority Key. And this is all, it's about being the authority in your arena, but it's not going to be what people are going to think. Because one of the biggest things that I've noticed from all my journeys, and Mike, you've probably experienced this yourself, is if you want to be number one in your arena, you're going to work your ass off. Yeah. And a lot of the things that hold people back from truly going for what they want is because they think health, family, a lot of things are going to have to pay the price. And let me be clear, if you're going to be number one, it will.
Yep.
Because to be number one, you're going to have to go hard, hard, hard.
Yep.
So for me, it's about how to become an authority, live the life of your dreams, but do it with that balance. Be able to have that balance in your life, because I've gone through these ups and downs. When I started training, I went 4.5 years hard, multi-day events, 50 a year. I was at home on average 2 days a month. I had to take a year off because of being burnt out. That 1 year turned into 3.5 years. And so I learned that overliving your passion is not good. Not living your passion at all is just as bad. So coming back is about having that balance. So, I'm going to be writing about how to become the authority, but be able to have the balance in your life. Because look, I don't care how much money you have. And I know some of the top wealthiest people in the world, and what you see is all their money. What you don't see is the health issues they're going through. And Mike, I don't care how much money you have. If you don't have your health, you can't buy it back. Plain and simple. So that's my passion right now, is really showing people how to become great in your arena, seen as the expert, the authority, but have that balance as well.
Yeah, 100%. Robert, you hit it on the head. I think a lot of times it's hard to remember, or, for example, a simple thing is like sleep. I forgot about that for such a long time and how important it was, right? And then there's all these things going back and forth about, is it 8 hours? Is it 4 hours? Is it intermittent sleep within a couple of, you take power naps. I used to be a big power nap guy. Like, I'm going to sleep 4 or 5 hours, be up at 5 or 6 a.m., hit the gym, get ahead of everybody. And I felt ahead, but I also felt really exhausted. I also got headaches a lot, right? I wasn't on it. And so before days like my podcast days now, or before really big, interviews and, or just that I'm interviewing others in terms of like my companies, or even just conference calls, being fresh and making sure that you're aware and being number one, and sleep is huge. Now I don't have a night where I don't get 8 hours, and, being understand. I mean, you can't do 50 events a year, can you, Robert, without making sure you have enough sleep and running all around it. I mean, you're living in airports and lounges and airplanes. And so I can imagine that has to go back to realizing sometimes you have to force yourself to, your body doesn't lie, and it kind of tells you, okay, it's either time to slow down, and it checks you a little bit.
It does. And look, 2 back surgeries taught me a big lesson.
I bet. Yeah, that'll do it. Well, airplanes probably didn't help that either, did it?
No, it did not. It did not. And, today I fly more miles than I used to, but really? I only do 20 events a year. That's what allows me to take 6 months a year off.
Right.
To be at home.
Well, I think that's that's where I like to see and I love to hear when people have done more before and started doing less and are doing more by doing less. And what that really means is, guys, is you start looking at, and from any kind of business, how are you going to scale it? How are you going to do more? And a lot of it you break down on, well, let me find a way to probably get paid more with less clients, because the out burn, if you will, you're burning just as much time and effort on 50 than you probably likely less now with 25, and getting to and having more of an impact possibly. Right.
Absolutely.
And getting more value out there, and more importantly, not more importantly, but also breaking it down to a scale standpoint of the business is still running the way that you want it to. Now you realize you just built the life you want to live, which is my next question: is how do you currently plan and or build the life that you wanted to live, Robert?
Yeah, it's all about taking those balanced pieces first.
Yeah.
And scheduling them first. What is it that's important for my relationships, for my health, for family, still living my passion? Because look, I'm in the middle of a 2-month home stint. Yeah. And by the time I'm at home for 2 months, I'm going stir crazy.
Yeah.
So,
you're ready. Yeah, I hear you.
Exactly. And a big part of that too is something that you hit on really early in this interview, that continuous learning.
Yeah.
Even though I'm on the stage all over the world teaching thousands of people, I am still a huge student. I commit to my learning and that's why I'm part of masterminds. That's why, my first event of the year, I fly to Florida. Me and 7 of my students, we hop on a private jet, fly to Nassau for the day to just mastermind, coach, have fun, get pampered, fly back, And that's it. It's a one-day event, but I'm going to be as much of a student as I am going to be the coach. And I love creating. That's my other thing, is making fun of what I do. So I don't want to just do a regular mastermind. I want to do something really exciting. Some of my trainers that I'm teaching to be trainers like world class is one trip a year. We'll all hop on a plane with family. Now get the key to this, Mike, with family. We will travel to Vietnam. We'll have a week there where it's not just about masterminding, enhancing skills, but what we'll do is the family will be there to do excursions, downtime, sit around the pool, wine and cheese. And it showed that as a trainer, you have to include your family or you're going to lose your family. And so I love to do things like that with the private people I mentor.
That's great advice in terms of being able to back into how you've been able to build that, and also how you're able to still enjoy the family, enjoy what you do, and have a passion for what you do, and you got to take those, whether it's mental vacations or actual physical vacation. I would say physical vacations, because I've been a group travel company. I've owned a group travel company for 10 plus years, and getting out, right? But I think you mentioned something that I also do, by the way, and I relate with, which is I kind of, when I do travel, it's nice to come back, but I'm in a couple of weeks or a few weeks, I'm like, I can go again.
Yep.
Right. And so I have to remember that when I am traveling, because sometimes I'm like, I just want to get home. Right. But there's many times where when I am here and I'm getting stir crazy as well, I get it. So here's, out of all your successes, Robert, and failures, of course, in your business, which of course turn into successes usually, is what is the one piece of partner advice that you'd give to the business and life listeners out there listening to us today?
Something I said earlier, live your passion.
Yeah.
Be you. And again, the greatest gift, and I truly believe this, Mike, the greatest gift that anybody can give this world is to be authentic and quit trying to be someone else. And look, some people are going to like you for who you are, which is great.
Yeah.
Some people aren't, which is great.
Yep.
Be you so that you attract the people who want to be around you. You don't want to attract the people that want you to be someone else. That's way too draining and time consuming, trying to please other people.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice. Business and life listeners, be yourself, because those other people you're trying to be like are already out there, right? Robert, thank you so much for dropping your knowledge bombs today. I really appreciate it. And I know that our listeners do as well. And let's talk about a little bit where we can find you.
Yeah. My easiest ways on Facebook, I have Robert Riopel fan page, RIOPEL. And my website, which is successleftaClue.com. And that's how you can find me as well.
Great. And the books are on Amazon, all the platforms?
That's correct. Yeah, Amazon. And you can get the ebook, or you can order a hard copy. Absolutely.
And when can we expect Authority Key to be out?
It'll be out in 2020. We're
awesome.
Looking forward to bringing it out in 2020. Absolutely.
I know that takes some time. So obviously when you perfect that, we'll be looking forward to taking a look at it. We'll update our show notes for you guys on that. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Liebus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.